Hello, Lakes Area Writers Alliance members. So welcome to our May membership meeting. It's really exciting. I'm so excited for this session. It's been one I've been looking forward to for quite a while now. First of all, though, we have a couple announcements. The critique folder is going to be uploaded with a new folder for the month of May to June. That will be put up on the critique folder right after our membership meeting. So if you have something you would like to get critiqued and give feedback on, please go ahead and submit it, upload it. If you have any technical difficulties with trying to get your manuscript into the folder, go ahead and message me on Facebook, or you can email me, reach out, and I can help you figure out how to do that. But I do recommend all of the members to have something that they've written, maybe during this time where we're all stuck at home and have extra writing time. I know I've gotten a lot more writing done because of it, which is very, very good because I was really procrastinating on a couple assignments. So I hope if you have something that you've been working on, even if it's just a couple pages, a chapter, just go ahead and put it up there and let us help you out. Our community is for helping each other and growing our writing skills, and this is an awesome opportunity to do it. So can't recommend it enough. For June meeting, our membership meeting, it is a little bit up in the air right now, just with life as it is. So we may be doing the same digital format. We may be meeting in person. We aren't sure yet. But as we get closer to the date, we will send out emails and post it on Facebook so you guys will know exactly what's going on as we know. So keep your eyes open for that. Make sure you don't miss it and wind up at a location that we're not at, or wind up online and no one's there. So that could happen. It's actually happened to me a couple of times. I've gone to the wrong place for meetings. So personal experience there. So I believe that is actually all of our announcements, topics. If you as writers have any events going on that you want some support on, we're encourage you on it, let us know. We love to support our members. So let us know if you have something like that going on. For our meeting today, Carissa has an awesome presentation put together on learning how to use Scrivener. So this one is one I've been really excited about because I have Scrivener and I love it, but I'm a little confused on how to use certain features. It does have a little bit of a learning curve, but one that's really easy if you actually study it, unlike me, who just, I don't know how to use it. I'll go back to my Microsoft Word. So I hope you guys are all excited and ready to learn it. So with no further ado, over to you, Krista.
Well, thank you very much, Christina. That was awesome. Thank you for explaining what's going on with our crazy situation for next month as well. It'll be an interesting meeting. Hopefully we'll be able to meet in person. And if we do it, we're not quite sure, like Christina said, where exactly we're going to be meeting. But hopefully it'll go well and we will be able to do something really fun. So this meeting, like Christina said, we're going to be talking about Scrivener and in particular how to use it for our writing. Because there are a lot of people who have heard me talk about it, who have heard other authors talk about it. And it's such a great program. To me, I don't know about how you guys feel, but when I started writing originally back in 2010, obviously Word was the main thing. You're going to go to Word because Word's the best, Word document. It's what you write in. But I found for me, especially when I started getting a lot of words on the page, that I really struggled with the organization aspect of it. And I struggled with keeping track of certain things that I really wanted to keep track of. Things like the world building side of things or anything along those lines. You know what I mean? So there was so much that I just needed to make sure I knew about and knew how to handle. And it didn't have the robust capabilities that I needed. And so when I found Scrivener, I have to tell you, it was, at least for me, life-changing. I've been using it since probably about 2013, maybe 2014. And when they created the app for iOS, oh, you bet I was on that right away. So needless to say, this has been kind of one of those situations that I just love to use. And if you have questions about anything in specific, let me know. But I'm going to go through what I feel is kind of Scrivener 101, the things that you're going to want to know for sure how to use and how to be able to incorporate into your writing. And so in order to do that, I'm going to do a screen share, and hopefully this will work out okay because this is the first time I've done it from this particular app. So let's give it a go. that's not the right one. There we go. All right, so we're going to go over to Scrivener. And for those of you who are new to Scrivener or maybe haven't done this before, or maybe you're on a PC, this might look a little bit different to you. I'm on a Mac, and so you're going to be looking at the Mac version of things. I do have a couple of links that I'll be putting into the comments of this particular video. If you have other questions that I wasn't able to answer well enough, I have actually 4 different links that I'm going to be putting up because I know that there are a few things I can't highlight as in depth as others would like. So just in case, some of those were Jim's questions. And so Jim, if there are a couple things that I don't go as in depth on, just hang tight because I will be putting a little bit more detail in there. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is how do you get started, right? You can obviously see that this is a manuscript that I already have. You can see all my chapters over here on the side. There's a lot of stuff going on. Ignore all of that for the moment because we'll get back to that. First, I want to just start at the basics. How do you get a new document started? Okay, so you're going to go up obviously to your taskbar at the top, and you're going to want to go to New Projects. And when you do that, Scrivener's awesome. It gives you a bunch of different options to be able to work with. So you can work with all of them. These are just some of the tutorials that it gives you right away. But you can start with a completely blank document. You can work with templates that are for fiction. So you'll see that there are different fiction templates. There are a whole host of nonfiction if you want to be into script writing. And then obviously some miscellaneous stuff as well. So poetry, recipes, persuasion lectures, things like that. Obviously for our case, we're going to be doing something along the lines of fiction because that's what most of us are doing. Not all of us, but I would say most of us. And I don't know about you. So I use the 3 acts as a guideline for myself, and I also use the 4 quarters. However, I don't use this novel with parts. The reason I don't is because it actually does break, like when you go to export your novel, it breaks it out into those 3 parts. It doesn't let you keep it as one big cohesive unit. It'll almost be like, oh, here's that next part. So for me, I just like the flow of the novel one, and I always go with just straight up novel. So when you click choose, it'll get this fun little project template, all the things that you want to do. So what is this one called? So let's just put it on the desktop. We're going to call this thing Test Scrivener, and we're going to hit create. And so what it does then, so you'll see that it's very similar to what I was just showing you behind. It sets up a very basic document. So this is your novel template document. It just gives you some basic things that you're going to want to know about. This particular screen tells you how to use the template, but obviously we'll skip it because I'll be describing it for you here real quick. So your manuscript is this part. It's going to be everything that you're going to be putting together for your novel or your short story, depending on what you're writing. Down here, the folders are actually your chapters, but in a second I'll explain to you how it's a little bit different. Even though it says chapter, it can be done in a couple of different ways. So it's like, consider it your chapter's house, because you can write your chapters in 2 different ways. You can do it like this, where it's got your chapter and then scenes. And if you're the type of person that writes multiple scenes inside a chapter, you can do scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, and then it's all housed inside your chapter, right? And you can add new scenes by just doing that. Click the little plus symbol and do scene 2. Whoops, see if I can type properly from this weird angle. You can do scene 2, or you can label them whatever you want to label them. It really doesn't matter. And then it'll just continue to flow. When you do your export, all of those scenes will come together and allow it to be one seamless chapter. I, on the other hand, I'm going to swap back over to this other version of it for a second. I don't do it quite that way. The way I do it is I write in full chapters. And so what I do is I have my chapter, and then I also keep the chapter. The full chapter is my scene. So I only have one scene technically per chapter. So what I'll do in that case is I go ahead and I create this as my chapter heading. So this, rather than it being technically a chapter, I change it. And so there's a little icon up here. Do you see this little tag? So you can change these things from chapter to chapter heading. And then the scene itself would become the chapter, if that makes sense. Okay, so then when you're exporting, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, it just allows Scrivener to be able to do what it needs to do in a lot easier way. And there's multiple ways that you're able to go ahead and change those things. You can do it from the export function here. and you'll be able to see all of these things along the lines of what kind of situation it is. Is it a chapter or is it a chapter heading? And all of it's just a way to be able to show you other quick aspects to be able to move things around and change how it works. And we'll go through exporting in a little bit here. Hopefully this is making sense, guys. So if you do have questions, so make sure that you're leaving a comment. Okay, so when you're getting started, let's go back over to that new document. You can have all of these scenes based on how you're writing, or you can have the chapter. If you do want to change the scene's name or the chapter name, like I had over at the other one where it says loose ends, you can do it from two locations. You could do it here where it says scene. Let's say, we'll say loose ends, just to give you that idea. See how it automatically changed it here? It would be the same thing when you do it from this one. Okay, you could do loose ends 2, and now it changed it over here. Does that make sense? Okay, so this synopsis little section is really important. And one of the reasons I love it so much is that when you put in your information into the synopsis section, and I'll show you by coming over here. Now remember, all of these little icons up at the top do different things. So you're going to go back to this little one that looks like notes, and it's got the synopsis. So when you have all of that information written in there, and you want to be able to quickly and easily see your outline at a glance, this is how you do it. And I know, Christina, you had that question, where how do you go ahead and see your entire outline? You do it from here. And now you can actually look at it from two different ways. So you can look at it in this sort of thing. This is your cork board. I know it doesn't look like a cork board, but I've actually changed the way that it looks because I like this layout better. But you can have it where the background of this looks like a cork board, and it almost looks like little pins and little note cards that are stuck to the wall. And I know a lot of people who just really like that. I myself like to look at it really briefly here. It gives me a quick glance. But if I need to go more in depth, do you see these little icons up at the top by the manuscript bar? If you click on this one, it actually goes into the full description. So when they're bigger or smaller, they shrink, and they get smaller when they're smaller. They get much bigger when they're much bigger. And what's nice about this is you can also change all of those statuses. So let's say your label, this is your first draft, and you want to make sure that you don't do anything weird with it. Okay, this is your first draft. You can leave it as red. What status is it? First draft. Now you can change all of these things so you know exactly what stage of the process your chapter is in. And do you see this little section back here where it's giving you total target and total progress? That's really cool too, because when you go into your chapters, obviously I didn't have them set, but you can do it. And what you do is you come back over into your chapter or your scene setting, and actually it'll compile all of them within that chapter. So in this particular chapter, I have 2004 words. My goal in my head was always 2000 words. So obviously I went over by 4 whole words. But down here, that little target, if you click it, it gives you a target for this particular document. What is it? And so let's just say it was 2000 words. And if I wanted a minimum of 1500, and let's say, I don't know that an overrun allowance is that big of a deal, but let's just say 500 is fine. Actually, let's say 300 because I want to show you what it does. All right, I keep all of these things checked because it gives you just a little bit more data as you're running. Click OK. And now when you're down here, do you see this little bar? How it changed from that little target icon? It's giving you a goal. It's letting you know exactly what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So it's green. It's letting you know that you hit that 2000 word goal, and you have that little bit of a gap that has nothing in it. So you didn't quite hit that overrun. So you're not, you don't have to worry about that part. And I believe that little tick right there is letting you know that's where the 1500, you wanted to at least get to that point. So you're well past that and you're able to move forward. Now let's just say the document target was 1500 words and you wanted an overrun of 300. See how this changes? Now all of a sudden it's letting you know, oh, I'm actually in the red. I'm over what I wanted. And if you have a very tight number of words you have to stick to, that lets you know if you've gone over and you need to make sure that you cut back on that particular section. But going back over to your manuscript, and remember that outline aspect, if you come back over here, now you see all that stuff getting updated. You're able to see, okay, in chapter 1, I wanted to have that target of 1500 words. and I've accomplished it. It doesn't give you the overrun aspect of it here. So if that's a issue that you need to be keeping track of, you definitely want to go into the actual chapter itself and make any changes there. It only gives you what your goal was. Okay, so one of the things that I do keep track of more often than just this is actually the overall project target. And so for me, in order to do that, I come down here. So you go to up at the menu, project, down to show project targets. And when you do that, you'll be able to see this little thing pop up. So for me, my target was 60,000 words. I've accomplished that mission, so it's done. And I had this deadline of when I wanted it to be finished and all of those good fun things. So how do you change that? If it's new, in fact, I could do it from that other one. If I can find it, there we go. If you wanted to set it, we'll swap that out. Go to project target. Here it is. Okay, so you set it from the beginning. It's all got zeros right now. Let's say it's 60,000 words. You'll just do it right there in that section. And when you click off, I believe if you click off on anything, well, maybe it's just funny. Okay, we're going to click on the options button because now we're going to go into more. And when you do click off, it sets it. I think you probably can hit enter to come to think of it. Okay, so for me, I leave these two just by themselves, and I go ahead and I put it in a deadline because for me, deadlines are crucial. I have to make sure that my novels are getting out there when I want them to get out there. Okay, so let's just say it is 6/01/2020 is the deadline, and you come over to the session target. The reason it's important to not just stick in your draft is because this is going to let you know which writing days you want to keep track of. Let's say you don't want to be writing on Sunday or Saturday. You only want to have specific days that you are going to be writing from, and you want it to keep track of that. You're going to click this automatically calculate from draft deadline, and then you would click the days you want it to be keeping track of. Obviously, if you want to write every single day, you would do every single day. And then if you want to have Scrivener itself let you know if you are reaching that target or if the new day has swapped over or anything along those lines, you can go ahead and do it from there. It'll pop up with a little pop-up notification letting you know something has changed. All right, so then you click OK. And now see how everything has changed? Now we've got 0 words written so far to my daily word count. If I wanted to have this done, 60,000 words by June 1st, I would have to write 5,454 words. It gives you that concrete goal of what it is that you're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. And it lets you know how many days left you have to accomplish it. It lets you know the number of words that you've written in a day. It'll let you know your entirety of word count goal. So today's target is always going to be under this session target. It will always change from day to day. Whatever it is, you have gotten X number of words written out of your daily goal. This one is your accumulative word count goal for the whole entire project. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you ever need to adjust it or change it, obviously you can do it from here. Otherwise, you can click options. If you want to add another writing day, take off a writing day. If you want to change your draft target to, let's say, you're going to finish it July 1st now instead of June 1st, you can go ahead and do that from there. Click OK. And now you have a little bit more manageable word count goal. It gives you that idea of being able to know what exactly you have to be doing on a daily basis. And then it gives you a really good visual of going, okay, there are 33 days. I need to get my act together and get this done. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to click that off. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, one of the things I have on here was naming the chapters and the sections. So let me go back over to the one that I'm working on. You'll see over here that I just name my chapters. So I do chapter 1 and leave it as that, so I know what I'm looking at and why. But then if my chapter itself, the words for the chapter and all that stuff has a chapter title, I do it here within the what would be a scene or the chapter itself. I give the title in that spot that we had done where it changes itself. And then I write straight into Scrivener. So that was a question that I didn't even realize was a thing until Christina said that. She gets questions a lot where people are like, okay, can you actually write directly into Scrivener? And the answer to that question is 100% yes. I don't even know why you would write in Word and then move it over to Scrivener. It is it is meant for writing. It is meant for your daily writing, and it is meant to keep track of so many things that you have no idea how awesome it will be. So yes, go ahead and write directly into Scrivener, and it gets even better if you have an iPhone. So we'll get to that in a moment. But yes, absolutely write in Scrivener, and you write within your scene or write within your chapter. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. I know I've talked fast. Maybe I should just have another sip of coffee. Okay, so as you can see, all of these chapters along the side, so this is what's called your binder. Where your manuscript is housed and all of the information along this left-hand side is your binder. And when you're looking at it, it gives you your entire manuscript. So if I were to close this, now all of those chapters are gone. So the manuscript is only in this section. Anything that's on that same level of the manuscript is outside of it. So whenever you do your export, you want to make sure that as you're setting things up, anything that you don't want to be exported into the file that you're going to export at the end is outside of it. So that includes front matter, back matter, character templates, any notes you have. I have a lot of other world building things, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Some of these are just the templates that come with Scrivener, and some of them are things that I've had to create myself. And I have a world building template that's even bigger than this that we'll talk about briefly at the end. But all of those things have to be outside of it so that you keep track of it, but it's not going to be exported as part of your main manuscript. Things like characters, who they are, if you want to keep track of them in this particular spot, or anything like that. Now going back to the manuscript, do you see where I've got sections that are cordoned off where I just say, okay, this is Act 2 is where Act 2 starts, Quarter 2 starts. Act 2, Quarter 3, because Act 2 is actually comprised of two quarters, and then where Act 3 would start and go on. So it's giving me a visual cue, I guess, as I'm writing. And I do this right from the beginning. So I'll show you this in Haunted Legacy. I haven't started this book just yet. I'm going to be starting it this afternoon. So you'll see that I have all of the information I need synopsis-wise. I've gone through and I've done my chapter-by-chapter outlining. But I don't have chapter titles yet because I don't title my chapters until I've written them. And when I'm going through it, I still have Act 1. That's where Act 1 will be. This is where Act 2, Quarter 3 will be. This is where Act 3 begins. All of those things. Whoops, this is the end of Act 1. I must have goofed that one. So it's the end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2. Hopefully that's helpful. So for me, that's how I do it, just so I can visualize where those different aspects of my novel are. And it just helps me to know what it is I want to be accomplishing throughout the story at that point. Okay. One side note, as I bump my mic here, one side note that I do want to mention, and I don't think we mentioned it before, at least not for very long, is the fact that you can write using the Scrivener app if you have an Apple iPhone. I don't know why they don't have an Android version of it quite yet, but it's super helpful if you have an iPhone. And it doesn't matter if your computer is an iPhone or computer's a Mac or if it's a PC, that part doesn't matter because it all syncs through Dropbox. But I will show you real quick. It's super sweet because it's the same type of thing. And I'm going to swap over here real quick, I think, if I can, to my other view. Okay, so you can see, guys, see if I can get into the camera. When you have it on your phone, you're able to do the exact same information. It keeps everything in there just in the same format. And as soon as you write, let's click on manuscript. All the chapters are there. If you make a change by clicking on, let's say, chapter 1 and going into it and doing some writing, let's say you're in the supermarket and you're waiting in line and you're like, okay, this is like taking forever. Maybe not now with the whole coronavirus thing, but there have been times at Costco, guys. I know there has. Then you can go ahead and you can be writing on your phone while you're waiting, or if you're at a doctor's office waiting, or whatever the case might be. And as soon as you're done, you hit sync, you walk away from it, you come back to your computer or your laptop or wherever you're writing on Scrivener, and it automatically will sync everything up for you. And if it doesn't automatically do it, there is a sync button where you can make sure that it does it. But if you open up Scrivener fresh, let's say Scrivener was not open on your desktop, it will automatically sync the documents that you did there, or it'll alert you and say, hey, new information was done from your phone. Would you like to sync now? And it's to me, that's a lifesaver. It's just so helpful. It can, I mean, even if all you do is write 100 words while you're waiting in line, or write 100 words while you're waiting for kids at a bus stop, or, whatever the case might be, that's 100 words that maybe you wouldn't have had because you didn't have your phone with you. So it's just super helpful that way. All right. So let's go back to the Scrivener itself. So we've gone over setting up the project targets and also the chapter targets. Hopefully that was helpful. Now, Jim had a question about how do you set your fonts and your documents defaults for all of that good fun stuff. That was a really good question, Jim. So let's go over that. The place where you're going to want to do that, it's going to be under preferences. So you're going to come up to your Scrivener right at the top. Well, so for me anyways, I don't know what it looks like on a PC, so I apologize for that. But you're going to go into your preferences, which is right here. And when you do that, you see all these different things that you could like really dig into and customize if you wanted to. It can get a little daunting. You're going to want to go to editing. And when it opens, you see where it's got formatting and all that good fun stuff here. So if you want to change your main document's main formatting settings, you're going to click on the little fonts panel. It'll pop up or it'll open for you in your PC. And it will tell you, okay, right now your collection is in English. Its main format is Palatino, regular, and 13-point font size. If you want to change that to anything else, let's say Helvetica, or if you want to change it to whatever, you just search for that font, click it, click the type of font you want it to always default to, and in an Apple, it just sets it as soon as you do it, but you might have to click an accept or something somewhere else. So for me, I'm just going to leave it. But if you want to change color, it's the same kind of concept. Let's just say you want the default color of your font to be something different. You would click on this little button here, and I don't know if it'll let me do it right this moment. It's being a little goofy. Oh, nope, it's here. So for me, it's here. If I want to change my default font, I can do it from here. If I wanted to pick pink, I could pick pink. If I want it to be black, whatever, I can choose it from there, and it will always default to whatever color I chose in that regard. So hopefully that is helpful. And you can actually break that down into a lot of different things to do as well. It doesn't have to just be your main document type. This is just the main text. I believe you can get into a lot more default styles, setting other styles here. And so I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit cancel. But you can set other defaults where if you're working on a headline tag or if you're working on other things, you can do it from that part and change anything that you're looking for. For the majority of us who are writing novels, that's probably not something you need to worry about. So just the main part of the text and just allowing it to do that. However, let's say you're in your document and you go, okay, well, I want this paragraph right here to be bold, or I want it to be a different color, or I want it to be a different type of font. What is it you have to do? For Macs, we have our little section up here. So you could go, I want that bold. It's going to change it. I want it italicized. You can do it from here. I want it to be centered. I want it to be justified. You could do it that way. Whatever the case might be. Let's say you want it to be pink from right here. Nope, that's just the highlighter. So if you click it once, it highlights the whole section. If you click it again, it takes it away. If you want your words to be, or your sentences to be wider, you can do it from here. So add the extra space. There's so many different ways to be able to format it so that you're able to do what you need to do. It's just a matter of knowing what it is that you're looking for and how you want your document to be set up. So hopefully that's helpful. Oh, I see a couple of things pop in. Let's take a look real quick. Okay. So Jim, if you're not seeing that preferences button, I will do some research and see what it looks like for Windows and see if we can try to figure it out. And Bob says, I assume you can export Scrivener documents to other formats. Yes, absolutely, Bob. And I will show you how to do that when we get to the end part. So it's all good. Oh, David's actually helping Jim out. He said it's under the tool menu and it's under options. Awesome. Okay, so perfect. And Craig also helped. Thank you, Craig. Yeah, that for me, it's just a little bit different because I use a Mac and it's what I've used forever. So I haven't even had the opportunity to try out what it looks like on a Windows PC. I know a bunch of you have them. So Okay, so snapshots are another thing that Jim was curious about. And snapshots are something that I actually personally don't use because I write pretty fluidly. I don't usually go back and forth because when I send it to my editor and she gives me the information back, it's usually in a Word document. So it's not something I have within Scrivener itself. And by the time I get the changes made, I actually import it then straight into Vellum, and it's not a thing for me, but I can show you how it's done. Okay, so when you want to take a snapshot, and the point of a snapshot is, let's say you're trying to write something and you're not quite sure if the direction you are going, you like it, or if you want to continue writing and you want to change a paragraph or whatever, but you're not sure if you're going to want to keep it. You can take a snapshot of that particular section that you've written so that if you ever need to revert back to that way it was written or revert back to an older style, you can still go ahead and do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to have your scene or your chapter open, because you have to do it from your scene or chapter, and you're going to come to Documents and Snapshots. From here, I would always recommend taking a snapshot with a title. And the reason for that is if you're trying to do multiple snapshots, you're going to want to know which snapshot it is. So, because otherwise it'll all kind of be just jumbled together and it'll be harder to know what's what. So take a snapshot with title. When you click that, you could say, like this one is Soul Legacy. I can't type from this angle. It's like super weird. Soul Legacy, Chapter 1, and I'll say V1. Why not? Click OK. And I don't know if you could hear that. I could hear it, but it does like a little camera snapshot sound. And when that happens, what it does is it takes a snapshot of everything that you've written and how it's been written right now. And if you make any changes and you're not quite sure if you like it or not, you can come up here in this upper corner to the snapshot section. So see, I was testing it yesterday. And so I could look at, hypothetically, the one from yesterday, or I could look at the one from today. And just, if I wanted to compare them, you hit compare, and you can, whoops, I think you have to highlight both. It's not going to do anything for me because I haven't changed anything. But if you highlight them both and you compare them, it will show you what's changed and whether or not you want to keep it. It'll give you those questions of letting you know all that information. It's really kind of handy for people who like to be able to write over their document and not have to save multiple versions of their document, because it all handles it right inside of this particular program. I've had way too much coffee, guys. I apologize. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, but the place where you always will find those snapshots is going to be here in that upper corner where you've got all of these things on the side. If you don't have that on the side, I believe you can do it by coming up into the upper left-hand corner. It all has to do with the defaults in your layouts. So for me, I have the default three layout panel because I like the way that this is set up. I'm able to have all of my information right in the middle, but you have a lot of different options to play around with and try to see, what do they look like and which ones do you like better. So if you want to keep your manuscript synopsises right there and be able to know what's happening. So Christina, that might be a good one for you too. If you want to have that outline at a quick glance, you have it all straight right there. If you want to do the corkboard version, that'll change that to the corkboard instead. So those bigger ones. And you can go on and on changing all these different things. I'm going to probably not go down to these ones because more than likely it's not going to help out a whole lot. So I'm going to go back to the default. I just really like the default. It works really well for me. Plus I'm able to look at any of the other tags like the comments or anything. If I change something, I don't usually use bookmarks, but it could happen. Now, when you're in this tag section, one thing I do want to mention, so that's right next to where the snapshots were. See how it's got the little checkbox with the include and compile? That's something that you'll find here, and you'll also find it in your export. So let's say you only wanted to export chapter 1. You can export that one, but you see how I've got all of these other chapters. So let's say I only wanted to export chapter 1. You can highlight all of them that you do not want. Now, again, I'm a Mac person, so I hold the shift down and I do the whole list and I click. And so it highlights the whole thing for me. I right click and see it's got the include compile. I uncheck that, and now I can just compile. It would only then export chapter 1, and I don't have to worry about any of the others. Same thing with if you wanted to include them all. If for some reason you had them unchecked or any of them unchecked, you highlight the ones you need, right click, and just click them. Or you could, be kind of slow and just click, because you could do it this way too. Click, click, click. It'll allow you to do it from there as well. We'll go over that a little bit more in just a sec. So hang tight with the exporting, but I just wanted to give you a really quick idea that from this section, you can still include in a compile or not include in the compile. Okay. Now, when it comes to images and research, so Jim, you had a lot of questions on research. That's a really good question for this section down below. So if you wanted to be able to keep research that wasn't actually going to become part of your manuscript, so let's close that manuscript part and I'll come up here. You can have all of the information in this document. So let's say you wanted to have information that is pertaining to a different timeline or anything along those lines, anything that you want. I mean, honestly, you can put pictures under here. You could put YouTube links. You could put website links. You can put audio samples. This section allows you to do all sorts of really, really, really cool things and keep it all in one place to be able to find later. Now, I don't use the research part in this particular one very much. I've put deleted scenes, things that I just want to shove in there real quick. But you can put so many different aspects in here. And I will show you more in a world building template in a little bit. But you can include places. So if you're writing fiction, you can include places. I don't have anything in this particular one, but you can include those. I have creatures. I have notes. I have characters that I keep track of. All sorts of different things that all kind of come down into this section. Now, if you want to be able to add something into the research phase, it's just a matter of, so you're going to highlight the research folder. You're going to still go up to this plus. You can either do it from here or from down here in the bottom corner. I always do it from here. And if you click on the little drop down menu, it gives you more options. So you can go, okay, do you want a text? Do you want a character sketch or setting sketch? These are templates. So it's pulling it from this template sheet section. If you add more templates, you can pull more of them in. So it's just a matter of what templates do you have in that section. And if I want to pull in, I believe if you pulled in a link, I don't have any web links open because otherwise my computer would completely freak out. But you can pull the link directly from the web, pull it into the research folder, and it will just put it straight in there. Same with images, same with anything else. You can add just about anything into that section. You can also do it from there. So if you highlight the research tab, right click, and other than when I highlighted it and it wants to do that, click add. See all these really cool things? Now you can add new templates, you can add existing files, you can add web pages, all straight from that particular location. Yep, you can save links, Sue, absolutely. So it would be right there where it said web page, but you can drag and drop them directly in there as well. You don't have to just go into the add create web page and put it in there. But if you do it from there, so let's say I could just type my own. Let's do kristaandrews.com. If you do that, it's going to error me. I probably needed the HTTP. Okay, let's do one more time. And actually, I'll do HTTP. Let's do lawamn.org. And my computer's going to think about it because, why would it just want to do it right away? There we go. So it found everything. It pulled in, it knows that it's the Lakes Area Writers Alliance, and then it pulls in our tagline, encouraging writers and encouraging and supporting our fellow writers, because I didn't put its own title. But now you're able to, if you wanted to do it, it actually opens it up right inside Scrivener. It's almost like it's its own browser. So it does so many really cool things. You don't ever have to even leave Scrivener in order to be able to do it. Yep. So if you paste the link right into the thing, it'll pull the web page. Yep, absolutely. So it's just such a snazzy way to be able to keep everything in one place and house it in one location. And I find that I don't use that part as much as I should. So it's definitely something that even I will be using a lot more frequently, I think, in the coming months. If you want to ever be able to add, one of the things that you can't do, so you can't import media into anything inside the actual draft itself. You can import pictures. You can put a picture in because sometimes, obviously, books and stuff will have pictures, but you can't put other media. There's no videos. You can't put audio stuff into your manuscript part of it because the draft itself will not allow it. But it can all go into the research part. It can all go down in there so that you can keep track of it all in that particular location. But if you, let's say you wanted to add a picture, I'm going to go over to the sample one that we did because it's just easier that way. Okay, so let's say we wanted to put a picture in here. I can personally right click and be able to add information, add sketches. You can add all sorts of different things. Import an image would be the one that I was looking for. So I could do that, select camera or whatever. And then I can also go to, I think it was, let me see, insert, where the heck, there we go. Insert from file. And let's say I will do that one. Why not? Now it's in there. And so that particular image can be in there. You're able to house it within your document and just keep typing around it, whatever the case might be. It's not always going to be perfect. So sometimes if the image itself is too big, you're going to probably want to resize it so that it's in there the way that you need it to be. And then if you need to remove it, you just cut it right back out and out it goes. So hopefully that was helpful. And I'll have a little bit more on that one. Actually, there's links that I'll be putting up on how to sync your app to Dropbox and to your Scrivener file. And then I'll also have information on snapshots and importing research, more of that stuff for you, Jim, because I know that there's a lot more that can be done that I have no idea because I just don't include that sort of stuff to the level that you do. Okay. One of the questions that I personally get asked, and I know Christina and I, we were talking about this the other day, where it's like, okay, can you have multiple documents open at the same time? Let's say you're working on a short story, but you're also working on a novel and something else. Absolutely. And the way that you can find it is it's just like a web browser. See all these different tabs that are up at the top? I've got Soul Legacy open. I have Haunted Legacy open. And I have this thing called the Rapid Release Series template. It's the world building template that I'll show you in a minute. So all of these things can be open at the exact same time. And when you do that, you can flip back and forth to them. You can check out different things. You can, let's say in Soul Legacy, I had something that I wrote and I wanted to make sure I'm not forgetting the color of a car or the name of a character that I want to bring back into Haunted Legacy, whatever the case might be. You can keep another document open and you just flip over to the tab that you want to be writing in or checking out or searching in. So it comes in really handy, and it's nice that it keeps it all in one location so that you're able to just kind of dig through it and do some searches pretty quickly. So speaking of searches, if you wanted to search your document, there's a couple of things that are really handy. So there's the searching function, which is here, which is the one that I usually will recommend. And there's a reason for that. Most of the time when you're looking for something inside your manuscript, you honestly have no idea which chapter it's in. So you're going to probably want to do a search and not have any clue where it's located. And if that's the case, you can click the little search function and it will drop down the little search bar. But the problem sometimes is that maybe you don't know the exact phrase. See how it says all an exact phrase? Or sometimes you think it might be in your notes instead of like the whole manuscript. Well, if you click on the little icon, it gives you more options. So you can go, search by the title section. You can search by the text section, your notes, your synopsises, keywords, labels. I mean, there are all sorts of things that we're not even going to go into, guys, that this program does because I didn't want to completely overload you. I already know I talk fast enough, so there's a lot to learn in this program. It's so fantastic. But you can search in all of these locations, or you can search in this type of way. So search any of the words have this particular thing. All of the words have to have this thing, an exact phrase, whole word. I don't even know what that one is, but all right. So there's all sorts of options that way. Then you can also search in all of these things as well. So ignore diacritics. Okay, I don't even know what that is. Invert results. You can find duplicates. You can look for trash documents, search inside all sorts of things. The manuscript only, the binder section only. so many different ways to be able to search for different things within the whole of Scrivener and your file. But if you're in a chapter and you know you have something just in this chapter you're trying to find, you don't need to do it from there. You could do it straight from the command, I think it's Command F for you guys. So obviously I must have been looking at Christina earlier. But if you want to find, let's say it's a little time alone, it will find it and it'll let you know where that's at. And if you want to do find next, it'll find next. If you want to replace it, you could give a different replacement for it. You could replace all, you could replace and find next. Just like in Microsoft Word, you can handle all of those things, but it's going to only, when you do the Command F, it's only going to do it inside the particular document you have open, the particular chapter or scene or whatever. So most of the time, I guess I don't use that particular one. I will use it from over here because it is two different type of searches. And don't get confused by them. So let's say we wanted to look for that same thing. Whoops. Little time alone, right? Now you'll see that it's highlighting it here and it's also highlighted here. Do I want to keep those there? So those are questions you can ask yourself, like, okay, those are kind of close together. Should it be like that? In this case, probably. But you can continue to search for all of these things. So this one only has it here. So it's showing that it's in the binder. It is only in this chapter, that particular phrase. So let's say we wanted to go with catacombs. I know that's a word that's going to be in other places. See how it shows you all of the different locations it's still going to be in. So if I go, oh crap, okay, so that word is in all of these things. How do I narrow it down more? So then you go from that point forward and you continue to narrow it. Or you can find other ways to be able to narrow it. Instead of being in all, it can be in just the text. So now we know just in your chapters. There you go. Or whatever the case might be. You can customize your searches so much better and get so much more detail out of that, and it'd be helpful. I know, Christina, this program is so awesome. I love it. I'm an organized person, and so for me it just organizes my brain and lets me stop worrying about like how to find things, and because I know that no matter what I do, I'll be able to locate it. And keeping everything in a chapter format for me, just it feels cleaner. I don't know why, instead of just having this one big monolithic document. It's like I love it in a book form. Don't get me wrong. When I'm holding my book, I love that, but not when I'm writing it. It just gets a little bit much. You can also search by the text format as well. Like if it, oh yes, yeah, like if it has bold print. So if you want to search for anything that's got bold print or anything that's got an italicis to it or anything like that. You're right, David. Good call on that one. There's so much functionality with how you can do searches. And another thing I want to mention, I see Bob, how do you make backups? It will already do backups for you. And I'll show you that in a second too. Okay, so the biggest thing is that I wanted to mention about searches is the help function. So that's another search, right? So if there's anything that you're wondering about inside Scrivener, like where you're not sure how it works or how to make it happen or anything like that. Let's say syncing. You could do sync, and it's going to give you not only all of these, getting all crazy. Not only is it going to give you this list of things, but do you see how it's showing you exactly where to look? It's showing you, what kind of aspects you want to do. And oh, look at that. Wasn't that interesting? Bob, look at that. Backup. So you can back up to other places, but Scrivener automatically sets it up so that you're saving your document. And when you have an iOS app and you're saving it to Dropbox, let's say, it's always going to save that backup to Dropbox and it's going to be out there. If you want to save it to another location, so you have more than one backup in more than one spot, that's where you're going to go. File, backup, and then you back up to, or you're going to back up all projects. So backup to would be just this project, but if you want to back up all projects, it's going to tell you where to send it or whatever location you want to send it to. And then you would do that manually. But your main place is going to be something that when you hit save, it backs it up automatically to that location. So like on Dropbox for me, I use my phone all the time. And so it backs it up using Dropbox in order to sync the two together so that the cloud is what keeps the app functioning with my Mac version of it. So you sync it and it just does it. Awesome. Yes, and it does save automatically as well. You can save it. You can actually change the functionality of that. So going back up to Scrivener and then preferences for Mac users again, you can, I believe it's under here. Yep, saving. You can have it autosave after every 2 seconds of inactivity, or if you want it to be 10 seconds of inactivity, or however long you want it to be, where it will automatically save, you can do that. And then you have it where I think it's defaulted so that if you close out of Scrivener, it's going to automatically save as well. So if you accidentally bump the quit, it will save it and then quit. So it's never something where it's like you save it and it just goes off and you've lost everything you've just written, or if the power goes out or anything like that. For the most part, it will always have saved that initial backup. So hopefully that is helpful too. Okay. I know I talk really fast, guys. I feel like I'm like, whew. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is that export. And we're getting close to the end, so if you guys have more questions, let me know. These are just the things that I knew for sure I wanted to cover for you guys when it came to the basics, the things that you're going to need, and then the questions that were being asked. But if you have more, just let me know. Okay, so how do you export? Let's say you've got this whole thing taken care of. And by the way, if you ever have anything open on the side and you're like, oh no, how do I get back to the binder? Well, with that, you can just close it. But most of the time, it'll have something that just says close or go back to binder, and then your binder's there. It'll just bin itself out. Okay, so when it comes to exporting, you click this little icon here, up in the little upper right-hand corner, I guess it is. It's got the little thing. You can also do it from here, and you do the export as well, but it's going to be a little bit putzier there. It's just easier to click the icon. When you click it, it gives you a bunch of different options. So for me, the last time I exported, it was in Microsoft Word. But so if you look at the formats, you can do it from different kinds of Scrivener projects. So you could do it from a manuscript copy. I like the modern copy when I export because Vellum itself just uses it better, I guess is what I would say. You could do your outline copies. You can do your manuscript in Courier, in Times. So it'll automatically convert all of your stuff into a manuscript type document. You could do it in your paperback copy. You could do it in a proof copy version, in a script or a screenplay copy, or I see now it has a Vellum export. Well, that's nice. I didn't even realize that it did that now. Now they tell me, oh, come on, guys. So I could be clicking Vellum export, and what it automatically does, this is the type of section that it needs in order for Vellum to know what it is it's looking for. Because when Vellum imports, and for those of you who don't know, Vellum is a ebook formatting and paperback, depending on which version you have, formatting tool. You don't necessarily need it, because Scrivener will do all of the same stuff. It's just a little putzier. So when it comes to creating a format that looks nice and has just that more professional look and feel, I like to use Vellum, but that's because I have a Mac and I have the program. But you don't need it. If you have Scrivener, it does everything you need when it comes to exporting. It just means probably taking a few more courses or checking out some online videos from Scrivener to be able to get really good at how to export properly. But when you click it, so Vellum export, let's say we're going to do a Vellum export. Vellum requires a Word document, so let's leave it at Word. Now, when you come over to this right-hand side, it's got stuff like your manuscript. If you wanted to just do chapter 1, you could do just chapter 1 or section, whatever the case might be. Same thing. If you were to highlight these two and say don't include them, it's going to be everything that's here except that chapter or whatever. I'll just go ahead and include that into the compile. That way we can leave it there. Now, if you were exporting it as an actual book that was going to go up, you might want to add front matter and add back matter, because those are things that are pretty important when it comes to books. And when you do that, I'm going to actually cancel out of it for a second so that you can see this. Let's go back over to the binder. The place that you're going to find all that is here. So the front matter is something that it automatically puts in. It gives you information like this is the manuscript front matter. This is a paperback version front matter. This is your ebook version front matter that it automatically imports in there. You can change it, you can customize it to whatever it is that you need, but it's letting you know the things that are most important and the things that places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble are going to need in terms of the front matter. They also have back matter that you can import, so it would be a folder just like this, except it's going to be back matter instead. And if for some reason you have trouble with that, let me know, but I can show you that. That's kind of a little more advanced, but all of that information is right there, and you're able to then export it in that particular spot. And when you go back over to export, click that. If you come over to this add front matter and click the check, right now it's saying there is no front matter that would be exported with it. But let's say we wanted to do the ebook version. You could just click the ebook front matter. It would change it. It would add that front matter formatting to the beginning of it. It would let you know, okay, you're going to add a dedication. If it's unchecked for some reason, you'd want to have it rechecked so that we go ahead and export it properly. Always make sure that whatever stuff you want to export has the checkbox in it, because otherwise it will miss it. Even if you do add the front matter and it's not there, it'll miss it. So let's say we go, no, you know what? I don't really want the front matter. Uncheck it. Boom, it's gone. But that's kind of how you're going to go about getting all of that stuff in there. And let's say you wanted to do it as an ebook. So right now I have it as a Word doc, but let's say you wanted to. This little compile for is where you want to go. You're going to click that. And so we've got print options. So that would be the actual print size, like the 5x8, I believe is the default, but you can change it to 6x9, whatever the case might be that you need it to be. A PDF, and the PDF is just like the normal PDF. It would not be the print PDF. It would be just a normal 8x11. You could do a rich text with attachments, Microsoft Words. There's a couple different versions. I don't even know what OpenOffice is. It's not something I use. You could do a plain text version. You could create a web page out of it. Final Draft, Foundation Screenplay. These are the ebook formats that you'll always be using. So EPUB, ebook format, is going to be the books that are going to be going to things like iTunes, Barnes & Noble, a lot of the book formatting sites that you can do like sample copies like Story Origin or BookFunnel. All of those will usually require an EPUB version. The Kindle ebook is going to be a Mobi file. You use nothing but OpenOffice? Okay, well, Bob, awesome. I don't even know what it is. You'll have to show me. So the Kindle version is specific only to Kindle. So the Mobi file goes to Kindle, although Kindle has now allowed some EPUB versions to be used. So just as an FYI, you could have a Kindle EPUB as well at this point in the game. But for the most part, Mobi has been the go-to file forever. But it's what it is what it is. So if you wanted to export in any of those digital formats, you would click one of them, and it'll automatically change everything to be ebook style. So whether it's an ebook or an ebook screenplay, outline document gives you those details again, front matter, back matter, whatever the case is, and then you would hit compile and off it goes. Okay, are there any differences for writing in the blog format? I'm not quite sure I'm following you with that one, Sue, so can you elaborate on that one? The blog format are you talking about just like when you're creating a blog and the overall arc of that? Or I don't know that I would necessarily need to use Scrivener for blogs, but you could. So let me elaborate on that question a little bit more so that I can answer that one. Okay, one last thing when it comes to exporting while we're waiting for Sue to ask that question is, I'm getting a phone call, okay, let's say we're going to do let's go back to the Microsoft version. Let's say we wanted to do a Vellum import because I think Terry wanted to know how that worked a little bit better. So we'll do the Vellum export. Let's just see if this one works because I've been using Modern Copy, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to go. So we'll hit compile. I know that everything is in here, and it'll take a second because when it's doing it, I'm going to actually go to desktop. I'll put it in my test one. When it exports, it's going to take all of the information that you've gone ahead and put in there. So you can see its progress down here in the corner. It's going to convert the file. It's going to get everything out there. Ah, it's an open source version of Word. Okay. Excel and PowerPoint. That makes sense. Thank you, David, for explaining that. That was one of the things where I've just never even heard of it. Okay, so it's still doing it. There we go. It just exported. Yeah, see it. And I don't like how it exports because it doesn't automatically know for me what I'm doing. So I'm going to go back and close that for a second because that's just not right. Okay. Let's go back. We're going to go back to export, and I'm going to do it from that modern copy. And we'll compile one more time because I want to show you what it's going to look like inside of Vellum and how easy it is then to export it. Now, the reason I use Vellum is purely just the graphical aspect and how it formats and does the layout so quickly. You don't need to do it. And if you had Vellum, could you hypothetically write in Vellum? Yes, you could write in Vellum as well, rather than writing inside of Scrivener. So if you want to just buy one or the other. But the problem with Vellum is it doesn't have the world building stuff. It doesn't have all those really cool aspects when it comes to keeping all of your research in one location and making sure that all of your world stuff is in one spot. So I don't write in Vellum, but that's just me personally. So okay, so see how it's kept the chapter 1 and the loose ends and everything is in there properly in a way that it makes sense. Chapter 2 is not going to be off in like some weird la la land. It's going to say chapter 2 and then the witching stick take 2. So that's important to me. I wanted it to make sure that it did that. Okay, let's see if we can pull up Vellum. I don't know if it's going to swap over. Let's see. Yay, now you can see it. Okay, good. So with Vellum, the way that you pull everything in, it's just a really quick import a Word file, right? Okay, so for me, I just put it on the desktop inside this test folder. It's this particular file. We're going to import it. It'll take a second, but check this out, guys. Look at how easy that was. It imported everything. Chapter 1, loose ends. Chapter 2, witching stick. It knew what the name was for and why it was for it and all of those things. Obviously, it didn't know the name of the title properly, so I would have to go and update that. And then if there's other things, ebook cover, I would add the ebook cover. So all of these things are very easy, and I'm able to just go ahead and put it in there real quick. So that's just that's how quick and easy it can be to be able to use Vellum and import it when you've used Scrivener and have it set up in the way that makes sense for it to import properly. Okay, I'm going to go back over to Scrivener. Okay, so Sue says, when you start a new project, one of the options is blog post. Okay, I have a project open in blog format, but I don't find all the same tools. So what are the main differences between fiction, nonfiction, other blog format when you open a new project? It probably is just honestly whatever Scrivener. I don't use it for some of the other features, but the way that their templates work is that they are geared towards helping the author stay focused in whatever format that they're trying to use. So if you are in a blog format in the blog post, it might have different tools and different functionality, but for the most part, it's going to be the same. If you're going to be writing it in a nonfiction, it's going to give you probably more like parts and sections that way. We can go check it out quick. So let's do a new project and let's just say, okay, let's do all. Now you said blog. I don't know. I don't even know that I'd seen blog on here. Short story, stage play. Interesting. Okay, Sue, so I don't even have that template in mind, so I'm not quite sure where you found that template. But if we wanted to do like nonfiction, now if you look at this, it's got general nonfiction with latex. I'm not quite sure what that is, but okay. You've got paper format, MLA format. All of those things give you different promptings. So essay in the Chicago style, manual style, all of these things are going to give you tools to be able to make sure that you are within the framework of that. That is interesting. It does. I don't know why mine doesn't give me that blog format. I'm not quite sure what the difference is there. So it would be interesting to see a screenshot, Sue. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a screenshot of the blog, let me know because I'd like to take a look at that. Can you change the template of an existing document? Absolutely. Yep. So as soon as you start making changes, let me go back over here. So just as an example, inside my own template, so these are templates for layout section to go. Oh my gosh, I can't even talk anymore. You can change the way that layouts happen from the export and compile format. And you can also do it from like within your templates here. So here's your template sheet for these things. And then I think I'm trying to remember where the main templates are. So file, let's do a new project. Now I'm like, I know you can do it. And I'm just like, I haven't had to actually tweak my templates for a while. So I'll have to get back to you on that one, Jim. That one I'm not too sure on where you actually change it, other than like when you're in your actual file, you can change anything you want. You can switch things around. You can change the way that you want any of the document information to be housed. So I'm not quite sure, though, how you'd set up the template to be a different format, but I know you can do it because I've seen other people do it. Okay, so Craig uses the nonfiction for blog posts. He says there's no real format, but you can save your research, websites, pictures, etc. under the binder. And then he uses the inspector to write meta description in his tags. Scrivener just gives a great place to organize and save everything. Oh, so I say Craig. It's actually Christina. Hey, Christina. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you for clarifying that. That was helpful. Okay, so that's awesome. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, Sue, with how that whole aspect of it works. But it's honestly the same kind of thing. You just house all of the information that you need based off of what you need in whatever template you're actually managing and using. So I hope that makes sense. That's a very good question, because like I said, for me, when I'm writing my articles, I actually do use Word, and I use it. It's like, oddly enough, I use Word on one side of my screen, and then I'm actually keeping all of my research in tabs on whatever web page I'm looking at or the things that I'm working on, and I'm moving them around. So I split screen. I don't even use Scrivener for my blog posts. Maybe I should. Something to think about. Okay, so one last little bit of information on fiction writing too. So for novels, depending on how in-depth you want to, like, let's say you're going to start a series that's really big and you want to make sure that you're keeping track of all the things. I actually want to just show this to you. It's something that I'm in the process of creating for my rapid release roadmap course, but it's something that, I mean, you can get so in-depth with the way that you keep your research together, guys. It's not even funny. So over here, this is just to give you a little glimpse of what this program is capable of. Every time that you're moving from this template to another template, you can, so Jim, I've created this template, but at the same time, it was like I started a new document and created it from there. So it is what it is. But so you can have things from like series conception and arc. So I keep in like all of the stuff, the series concept, the series arc, your book titles in the series, story timeline. Because sometimes you're going to forget. If you're writing a series and you're moving on to something else, you want to keep all of that stuff together so you know what's what and what was happening in each one. If you have history inside a fiction document, or even your document, Jim, I mean, there's histories and timelines and calendars you want to keep track of, you can do that here. In a fictional setting, you can keep track of everything from like physical and historical features, climate and geography. I mean, I get even more in depth where you can go into like natural resources in a specific location, populations, flora and fauna, cities and towns, countries, the economy in your world. And let's go back up a little bit. You can put government systems, politics, war, what kind of stuff is going on there, society and daily life. I mean, these are all things that you could be asking yourself and like going into to describe and just make sure that you in your head know, really what's going on in all of these different things. You can ask questions, you can dig into it. Magic and science, like for my books, there are a lot of magical rules, things that you want to be able to keep track of. So that's stuff that you can keep track of there. If you want to keep track of, all of your characters or creatures, all of these things can be kept track of right here inside of your Scrivener document. And then every time you start the next book, you would fill this out just the once. You would do it for your book 1, and then you would press save and carry it over for book 2, book 3, book 4. So that's always coming right along with you from book to book to book to book. And it's always right there inside the book that you're currently working on. And it's so, so helpful. I personally use it in a light version. I've been going through for my course, trying to figure out all the things that people could ask themselves, or all the things that people could be trying to learn or wanting to dig into so that they really understand their world. So that's why this one has a lot more in-depth information. So you can go as little as you need, like I have for just creatures or specific notes or characters that I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of specific information. But you can really get super robust, and you can go into so many different things. And if you know that it's something that you're going to be asking over again, you can put your character sheets in here. You can put your setting sketches in here as templates. Same thing over here in my templates. So I have a bunch of templates that I've created inside this particular one, where it's the series concept template, or it's the flora template, or it's the town template. Any of those things, you can create other little templates to be able to do it. Do you ever store a document within a document in the binder as opposed to just using a folder? Sure, you could do that. I don't know. I don't know why. Can you give me an example of what you would need it outside of a folder for? But you could do it. I mean, that would be no problem at all. It's just a matter of keeping something outside of one of these main categories, so that way you can look at it quicker, I guess. So is that what you're meaning, Jim? For me, it's like I like putting them inside folders, because all of these are technically folders of some sort. I like putting them inside a folder just so that I know, I guess, where I would find it, like what kind of information I'm looking for, and I know where to search for it. But if there's something that you're constantly going back to and it's just a single document, I don't see any reason why you couldn't. I mean, it would just be a matter of like pulling it out and placing it there. So do you see, this is just a text document. It's a cut scene that I pulled out, and now it's in line with everything else, and you can just go back over to it. So that there would be no problem. I just know it can be done. I don't know why I would want to. Okay, gotcha. Perfect. So yes, you would just drag it. If you wanted to take something, whoops, I don't know why I went into that folder. That is a document, and you want to pull it outside of it. Just click and hold, drag it out so that it's outside of any of the folders, and then you can quickly and easily access it. So if you run into that sort of situation, it's pretty easy to just be able to pull it out. And you can do that with just about anything. If it's an image, if it's whatever, I mean, you can really go into a lot of different situations with that. And keep in mind too, things like characters. When let's say you're in any character, actually, to be honest. So it's like you could pick whatever character. You can always add. So like going over to the right hand side, see where it's got the little notepad thing again. So I think it's just called notes. If you ever wanted to, I guess, give your character a visuality, find a picture or someone who looks like the person, drop an image. So drop an image here, and then that image is always going to be sitting there, and you can take a look and kind of go back and refer back to what this person was supposed to look like and kind of how you wanted them to be. Or if there's a location or a car or whatever, you can drop those images in there, and then you can quickly access that information based off of your character sheet or based off of your place or anything along those lines. So there's a lot of really cool, neat little tidbits and functionality there as well. So, all right, guys, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. I don't know. I've talked a lot. Let me go back. We're going to swap back over. There we go. I think to live cam and the forward facing camera. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Like I said, I will be dropping in, there's for sure 4 more links, and I'll look for one on templates too, Jim, just so that you've got one on how to accurately create those. Like I said, when I created the world building one, it was just creating a new document and then going through and creating all of the side stuff and then saving it as a template. And so maybe that's all it is to it. It's you create it how you want it first, set it up, and then hit the export as a template. Actually, we could check that out quick. Let me look. I know that it's still facing towards me, but Let's see, save. Oh, I think I just found it. Okay, so I will switch it actually. Okay, so when you come back over to File, let's say you get the whole thing set up and you like it the way it is. You've changed your font, you've changed your layout, you've changed how you like it. You come down here to this little Save As Template. And then when you do it, it's going to say all this information, this project seems to contain personal information. It's only because I have my name on it, but you can just remove that. It was literally just my name. Or you could hit cancel and then, so like for me, it's got that whole startup information. I think it's under startup, or is it under sharing? I honestly can't remember. There's a setup, author information. There it is. So you could take all that stuff out. And then once you do, I believe when you hit File, Save As a Template. Nope, still says there's personal information. Okay. Well, so then you can hit Continue or not, just decide whether or not you wanted to do it, or you could go hunting for whatever information it thinks is personal in there and you can remove it. So hopefully that was kind of what you were looking for too, Jim. I think that's probably the information you needed, but if not, I will go ahead and find a link anyway. So, whew. Okay, guys, if there are no other questions, that's kind of the 101 on Scrivener. It's one of the tools that I use every day in my writing practice. It's something that I do all the time with any of my books. I use it to keep track of so much information, and it's something that I don't even think I could live without. When I first started looking for another tool, I started with a different program called StoryMill. And StoryMill is super close to Scrivener, but it lacks some of the functionality that I was really hoping for. And at this point, I can't even remember what it was because that was way back in the day. But when I found Scrivener, I knew this was the one that I actually really needed and the one that would keep all of my thoughts and my world building and everything that I needed organized and in one location. So hopefully that helps out. If you ever get to the point of wanting to use Vellum or do anything along those lines for your formatting, let me know. There's so many cool ways to be able to use Scrivener in conjunction with other things that the possibilities truly are endless. And I cannot recommend Scrivener more highly, to be perfectly honest. So, all right, guys. Whew. We will hopefully see you next month. And if not, then we will be doing something else like this next month. I know we were going to be doing something with Kim, our education director. We're not quite sure if we're going to still do her piece yet or not. So she wanted to do it in person and she's not quite sure that she's up for it because she has her own set of things that she wants to stay healthy for. And with this whole COVID-19 thing, we want to make sure that everybody who needs to stay healthy is staying healthy. So if we have to do distance learning another time, then that's what we're going to do. And we'll figure out how to make it happen. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day and are able to get some fantastic writing done. It looks like it's a good day for writing. It's kind of overcast, so it's a good day to get some writing done. All right, I am going to swap back down to my program, and we will be able to see everybody again very soon. So thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.